I think it's very important and very helpful because it raises awareness.
I think that conservation, wildlife conservation and conservation of endangered species is important.
The captivity of wild animals is a topic that has been argued about over many decades. Is there a solution? In this documentary, Life in the Zoo, Life in the Wilderness, two students will debate the issues involved.
Okay, so now on MATV we're going to have a zoo conservation debate with Laurie and Andrew. So let's begin. Andrew, can you please explain briefly your views on zoo conservation?
I think it's very important and very helpful because it raises awareness about wildlife conservation as a whole. It's important that it actually gets children and adults near wildlife that they wouldn't necessarily get to be able to see in the wild.
Mm-hmm.
And so it helps them realise that animals need to be protected. It shows that animals need to be protected, and so it encourages them to get involved in that, either just by dedicating money or by actually volunteering to go out and help these animals. So I think zoo conservation is very important and it's very helpful.
Okay, Laurie?
I think that conservation, wildlife conservation and conservation of endangered species is important. However, I don't agree with zoos. I think zoos are the wrong way to go about it. Because I think zoos are just incredibly unnatural, and a lot of them do try to create living conditions that are similar to that in the wild, but it will never be the same. Animals won't ever be as happy. And to be honest, there's so much wrong with the zoo industry that I think we should, long term, close all zoos. We should have nature reserves and things like that. I think they're great, but to make money from putting animals on display for the entertainment of people, I think is completely wrong.
But it's not just students that are debating the issue. I interviewed Caleb Liddell to hear her views about zoo captivity. So what is the purpose of the Animal Management Centre here at Cannington?
So the Animal Management Centre here at Cannington is basically all about education. We can have students come in and learn how to handle these animals, they can learn what the behaviours of the animals are and learn how to take proper care of them in that sort of environment.
Do you agree with keeping animals in captivity?
I think there's definitely a place for animals in captivity, especially in centres like this which are really about education. Okay, and learning how to take care of animals. I think there sometimes can be a little bit of difficulty of what type of animals should be in captivity. We know that there are certain animals like polar bears, especially in the bear communities and things, and it's particularly difficult when you've got predatory species because you're never going to be able to completely replicate that sort of feeding environment.
Do zoos play an important part in wildlife conservation, and if so, why and how?
Absolutely. I mean, I've worked for zoos before. I continue to do volunteering with zoos. And again, it's about putting that in people's faces. Okay? It's about putting it out there. Most people, when they go to a zoo, they are going there for that entertainment factor. But it is the point that they really associate with learning about animals. If you ask people where they learn about their animal information, it's from zoos. Okay, and zoos are at the forefront of raising money for conservation. Most of the zoos in the UK are part of BIASA, which is part of WASA, and as part of their mission statement, they have to do something for conservation. That can include things like breeding programs for endangered species. It can be the sharing of knowledge, so sending keepers out there to work with in situ work, or it can be, having campaigns like we had Amphibian Ark, we've had Go Ape, which really raised a lot of money for those in situ environments.
Why do you think some people are opposed to keeping animals in captivity?
A lot of people, they think that animals should have the same rights as people. And you would never consider putting a person into a captive environment. No. And it's not to say that animals don't have those same rights as people do, but it's knowing that people are different from animals. I adore animals, but they are not people. and we have almost a responsibility to those animals to take care of them and do everything that we can to protect them. And sometimes protecting animal means taking it out of its environment, putting it in captivity until such a point as it can go back.
What would be the consequences of closing down zoos?
The initial consequences that come to the forefront is obviously you cannot take all those animals that have been in captivity and put them directly back into the wild. For many of those animals, their habitats just don't exist anymore. For other animals, they're so used to captivity now that they wouldn't know how to behave once they get back into the wild. In the long term, you're also talking about an institution that has played an important role in conservation and education.
If an animal is kept in captivity, then shouldn't it be stimulated, and if so, how and why?
With all captive animals, we do what we call enrichment. Okay, so enrichment can be environmental, it can be sensory enrichment, it can be toy and play behaviour enrichment. So when you're taking an animal out of captivity, one of the main things that they lose out on is the foraging, is the finding food, because you're providing that food straight away, which means you've got a whole chunk of time that you really need to fill up. It's also about mimicking those natural behaviours that they should be doing as well. So they should be doing play behaviours, they should be moving, they should be doing all of those behaviours that you would naturally see in the wild. So it's about introducing things that they can interact with.
And finally, can you please explain the 5 animal rights of animals in captivity?
Absolutely. So the first animal right is obviously food and water.
Yes.
So all animals are able to be fed and watered, and those food should replicate what they get in the wild. Okay, so things like our geckos and things that we have here, they have things like crickets, which is naturally what they would have in the wild. The next one is freedom from discomfort. Okay, so their enclosures should be set up in a way that mimics their natural environment so they are not uncomfortable. Okay, you wouldn't take something like an amphibian, which is used to a very humid environment, and put it in a very dry environment. Which kind of leads on to the next freedom, which is freedom to have shelter. So all animals should have a home. Now they could be different for different animals. So things like the crested geckos behind me, they want to be up in trees, they want to be hiding behind things. But something like our corn snakes, we have specific hides that they can then go into. So then you've also got freedom to express normal behaviour. So that really comes down into that enrichment as well. So providing them the ability to express their natural behaviours. And of course, freedom from disease. So we take really good care of our animals here, as they would do in any zoo. We have specialist vets that look after them. And if they are ill, they get taken to that vet immediately.
So, you have heard the argument from both sides, and now you must make your own decision. Should animals be allowed to roam free in the wild where they are at risk from poachers who will kill them for bushmeat and money? Or should they be kept behind bars in captivity where they are protected from poachers but are prevented from living a free life in the wild? Ultimately, it will be up to us humans to decide the future of wildlife.